Welcome to Retirement with Jim. So today, are you prepared to retire? So before we get started, if you like my channel, please consider subscribing. Helps my channel grow. If you like the video, hit the like button, and feel free to leave comments. Love to hear from you. Love to know what you think. Agree, disagree, other subjects you want to talk about. So let's get started. Are you prepared to retire? And it's not always just about the money, the numbers. Are you prepared for instance, what are you going to do at the time? Have you made plans, whether it's, to travel or take up hobbies or things that you're going to do at your time? What are you going to do with that time? You got to give it, at least some thought so that how you want to spend your time of retirement. That's an important thing. You know, you've been spending years saving your money. Are you now ready to spend? You know, it's darn flies. It's a completely different mindset. You've saved all your life. You're spending all your time saving, preparing for that. Now can you make that shift from saving money to spending money? Surprisingly, it's a difficult one for a lot of people to suddenly overcome. They're not so used to wanting to spend that money, and because they haven't, and of course they are then going, oh, will I, overspend? Will I, will my money last? You end up with a lot of concerns. So there's a lot, really to think about. you know, are you mentally ready to prepare, to spend that time? A lot of people, leaving your job and leaving that work environment, you know, the socialization, the structure of that job, it's a certain mindset. And so are you mentally prepared to do that? A lot of things to consider. You don't want to rush just to get out of the rat race. You know, are you just thinking about just simply getting out because you just don't want to work anymore? Not a bad reason to get out, but you don't want to, you want to think through the process. You don't want to make hasty decisions that can have costly consequences, costly mistakes that you maybe didn't think through. For instance, maybe you're retiring at 62 and maybe from a money standpoint, you would have been better off to retire at full retirement age. And some people, they want more money and they're willing to go, all the way to 70. Me, not a chance. It was hard enough for me just to get to the full retirement age. I really, especially the last few years, I had been, I thought about retiring and prepared and saving money and getting, set for it. And that last year was like a countdown that seemed to take forever. I was never so glad as to when it came. But it begs that question: are you ready, to retire? We all say, yeah, we would rather not work. Not everybody fits in that category. Some people love to work, love to do what they're doing. But you've got to be thoughtful. You've got to think, the process through. You really want to know that what you're doing is making you as prepared as possible so that you can enjoy that retirement. And there's a lot of things to think about, and it isn't necessarily just money. Are you ready to be home with your spouse? If you have one, if you only have yourself, then hey, great. You don't have to worry about any of that because your decisions are only all about you, and you don't have to worry about that. But if you are, a spouse, you've got to think about, okay, hopefully it's she or he is prepared, for, to be around one another and all the time. And are you, if are you ready to do, or some other things so that part of your time is spent away from each other? You worked all the time and you weren't around each other all the time. Now that becomes something that you really got to think about. Sometimes people really they forget that part of the process. Um, my wife retired, a couple years before I did. Um, so during that time, she developed her own routine of what she was doing and what she liked to do and enjoyed with her time. And once I retired, there was no doubt that I had to give some thought as to what I'm going to do because I'm going to interfere with her routine. Not on purpose. It's just, you're now around each other all the time. You got to think about what you need to do that you can't be around 24/7 to a degree. You got to have your thing that you're doing, and my wife has her thing she's doing, and it works out really well. But it's something like it's food for thought. Yeah, a lot of people maybe don't give that as much thought as they should. It's important because you don't want you want harmony. You want balance. You want to be able to enjoy that. So fortunately for us, we are and we're well prepared for once I retired. That you know she and her and I, we were able to seamlessly move along, and so it's a big thing to think about. I think a lot of people don't give that as much thought as they should. Um, so it's not about the numbers all the time. Numbers are important, and you want to plan. You want to make sure that financially you did the right thing. But there are a lot of other things that play into that part of retirement that you got to give some thought to. So let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. You agree, disagree? And with that, I'm going to tell you have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.